What's up, sir? I hope you're feeling okay today. If you're watching this, I just want you to know that thank you and happy Teacher's Day. Yes, I know that Teacher's Day will be celebrated on October, but being a teacher who guides his students and has a vital role in flourishing individuals, you're worth a celebration. Let me say this, every day is a Teacher's Day. Pertaining to my story analysis in reference with the story Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, which is originally written by a Japanese personality, Noboru Baba, and a folktale added to the 1001 Nights in the 18th century by its French translator Antoine Galland. My focal point why I choose this story is to bring awareness to all politicians and people out there that greed is not morally accepted and it is the root of all evil stuffs. This story will serve as a premonition to serve our country purely, and it's not too late to change for the better. Without further ado, here's my story analysis of the folktale Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. There were 5 main characters in the story, and these are: first, Alibaba. He is a poor woodcutter who intentionally saw the 40 thieves hide out in stacking their treasures in a magic cave. Later on, he became rich and lived happily ever after with his precious wife. Second, Morjana. She is the loyal slave of Kasim who is willing to do anything for the sake of her master. When Kasim died, she became Alibaba's clever slave too. She also helps Alibaba in dealing with the 40 thieves and even saved Alibaba's life many times. Third, Kasim, the greedy brother of Alibaba. He married a rich widow and he was never being contented of what he has. He was killed by the 40 thieves because he was caught stealing treasure from the magic cave. Fourth, the captain of the 40 thieves. He was certainly the leader of the 40 thieves who disguised himself as an oil merchant in order for him to revenge to Alibaba in stealing their treasure. 5. Mustafa. He was an old tailor who sewed the 4 quadrants of Kasim's body into whole. Exposition is commonly found at the beginning of the story. So certainly the exposition of the story Alibaba and the 40 Thieves is when the 2 main characters are being introduced based on their background. It was being revealed in the first part of the story that there once 2 brothers lived in a town of Persia. One named Kasim, who married a rich wife and he became a wealthy merchant. And the other, Alibaba, who married a poor wife, the same as himself, who worked for a living as a woodcutter. Most probably, the weather condition of the setting was summer, for the reason that there was a detail that stated, because the earth is light, which I conclude that it was really summer during the time it happened. However, as we all know by reading the story, Kasim was rich but greedy. So, we can definitely expect the reason of his death and Alibaba's wealth. The story contains an internal conflict, specifically man versus self. When Alibaba was trying to blame himself for the death of his brother, he regretted why he told him where the magic cave exactly located. If he'd known at the first place that it would be the main reason for his brother's death, he would not have put him in danger. He was really devastated in fighting his own conscience. The story also contains the external conflict, specifically man versus man. When Alibaba is dealing with this problem with the 40 thieves, and Morjana kills the man of the captain of the 40 thieves and the captain itself. The conflict started when the captain found out that someone was stealing his gold. Also, the poverty that led Alibaba to steal the gold from him in the first place could be seen as another conflict. The dilemma of the story starts when the captain of the 40 thieves notices when their treasures in the magic cave is decreasing. So he comes up with an idea by disguising himself as an oil merchant, and then he finds out that Alibaba is the real culprit. The problem arises when he discovered that Morjana killed his man by pouring some boiling oil in the jar where his man hid, and he wants to kill Alibaba and his family too. The protagonist of the story resolves the problem twice, and it was certainly the clever Morjana who solved the problem of Alibaba. In the first problem, when the captain of the 40 thieves, disguised as an oil merchant who tend to deliver 38 jars of oil, but only one of it has the oil because the rest of 37 jars were the thieves inside. Morjana find out that there were thieves inside the jar because she heard them murmuring that lead her to pour boiling oil in the jars. The second time around, when the captain seeks for revenge because of the death of his man by killing Alibaba and his family, Morjana finally killed the captain, which was disguised as a silk merchant named Khoja Hussain. Alibaba was very much thankful of Morjana's action for saving his life, not just once but twice. As a reward for Morjana's loyalty to him, he allowed his son to marry her as she was the one who preserved their life. Then Morjana became his daughter-in-law. They celebrated their son's nuptials with great solemnity, a spectacular feast, and the usual dancing and entertainment. Alibaba was still worried because there were still 2 thieves were not yet identified. That's why he always visits the grave of the 38 thieves, including their captain being buried. At the end of the year, Alibaba was still thankful for the reason that the 2 thieves never disturbed the life of his family. He decided to go again in the secret cave wherein the treasure of the thieves hides. As what he did before, he took as much gold as he can get and covered it with wood. When he noticed that only him can access the secret cave, he took his son with him to the magical cave and passed the secret which he handed down to his posterity, who is using their good fortune in moderation, lived in great honor and splendor. The story Alibaba and the 40 Thieves is certainly narrated in the third-person omniscient point of view. It was quite obvious that the narrator knows the thoughts and the feelings of the character in the story, simply because he understands and feels the emotions of every word and scene in the story. On the other hand, the style of the story was sort of foreshadowing, which was obviously seen at the beginning of the story, when the author gave some hint on what the story was all about and how it really ends. The story also was ironic. The ironic thing about Alibaba and the 40 Thieves is that the thief got robbed and he was trying to steal what he originally once stole. The tone of the story is greedy, envious, and lucky, while the mood of the story is regret because of Kasim's feeling when he got stuck in the cave, and victorious because Morjana successfully executed the captain of the thieves. There are a lot of lessons that we can learn from the story, but its universal theme is not to be greedy. Greediness is an act of selfishness and uncontrolled longing for increase in the acquisition or use of material, social values such as social status, wealth, and power. It is an innate characteristics of humans that tend to start chaos, unhealthy competition, and corruption that can destroy a person's life and worse may result in unwanted death. Greedy people can possibly do horrible things for the sake of their reputation and the power to lead people in a crooked way. The best example for this was Qasim's greediness. As we all know that the main reasons of Qasim's death was his greediness. He was never contented of what he has and even threatened his own brother for the sake of his own intention to discover Ali Baba's ultimate secret in the magic cave. We all seek satisfaction, happiness, and well-being. Greed and selfishness create further cravings and mental agitations within us. The more we act on this, the more dissatisfied we become. Another lesson that we can get from the story is to be content. It involves appreciating what you have and where you are in life. Just like Ali Baba does before he got lucky to find the secret cave. He was a humble person who was content with a simple life together with his family. When God sees good to a person, He will find ways to pay you back by doing good deeds to you. Luckily, Ali Baba was greatly happy due to the unexpected blessings that his family experienced. Loyalty as well that we could learn from the story. The same as what have Morgiana shown in the story. She's willing to take the risk by protecting her master from danger, but we should also consider the fact that there might be consequences if we use to hide secrets and protect the wrong actions. That's why we really need to set limitations and always think 100 times before making your decision.